Hello everyone, welcome to my interview video. Please tell us about yourself. What are your interests and hobbies? I am Ryu Damiao, a graduate of Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in English and minor in Mathematics. A public school teacher in the Philippines, in one of the performing schools in the city of Manila for about 12 years. I love reading books, singing, dancing. I also play badminton, tennis, and volleyball. I also love traveling. Are you involved in extracurricular activities that you could coach or supervise? I am a trainer in oratorical and speech choir competitions. I was a badminton and tennis coach in district and regional sporting events. I am one of the board of directors in General Parent Teachers Association in our school. I am the approving authority together with our school principal in various academic and extracurricular programs in our school. Why did you decide to become a teacher for the subject for which you are applying? I decided to become a teacher in English. Why? Because during my elementary and high school years, I was one of the school champions and received several awards and recognitions for district and regional language and communication competitions. And aside from that, during my teenage year, I also taught catechism for kids by reading biblical literatures during summer break. Are you currently employed as a teacher? Yes, I am currently teaching in a public school here in the Philippines for about 12 years in one of the performing schools in the city of Manila. How many hours per day do you teach and how many days per week? I am teaching 6 hours a day and 5 days a week. Describe your teaching experience. What subjects have you taught and at what grade level? Well, my teaching experience is fantastic. I am well loved by my students. In fact, I received a Student's Choice Award and an Outstanding Teacher as well. In private school, I taught English and mathematics subjects in grade 9 and grade 10 level. In college, I teach literature and humanities subjects. And in public school, I am teaching communication arts, literature subjects, and creative writing in senior high school. Describe your work experience other than teaching. Other than teaching, I mentor neophyte teachers in our school. I assist our school principal in the planning, implementing, monitoring, and assessing school programs and activities. Aside from teaching, I am also an active volunteer for community civic activities like in Disaster and Management Bureau, and also a freelance volunteer in various community outreach programs in the city. Have you ever worked in the United States? If so, when, where, and why? No, I've never been to the United States for work. So, if given a chance to teach in US, this would be my great platform to impart my knowledge and skills in teaching, and of course to share the Filipino values and cultures as well. What do you hope to be doing professionally 5 years from now? 5 years from now, I would be a full-fledged doctor in education and continue to serve and teach in the academy. If I were to talk to several of your colleagues, how would they describe your personality? They would definitely describe me as a professional teacher, a professional person, service-oriented, good leader, outgoing, soft-spoken, but a strong personality. What would your students say about you? My students would say that I am an exceptional teacher. I am sincere to my teaching profession, a good friend, and I have a big heart to my students. How do you prepare to teach your lessons? First thing to do is to know my students, understand who I am going to educate, and diagnose their level of knowledge and skills. I also create a realistic timeline for each lesson. Set learning objectives. Provide learning activities and plan on how to assess learning objectives. What would your lesson plans include? A successful lesson plan addresses and integrates three key components. These are the following. First, learning objectives. It should be SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Second, learning activities rather. And the third, assessments to check for students' understanding. Think about a class that you have taught recently. Talk about two ways of the teaching strategies or methods that you used. Recently, in my subject creative writing, to encourage my students to think and write creatively, I used photograph or painting, and without any discussion, the students write about what feelings or mood the piece inspires in them. Then, the students share their ideas and thoughts to brainstorm ideas and thought for a piece of writing. I also gave them a short prompt like, write as though you are one of the people in this photograph. And one thing, I asked them to list down words they would use to describe the piece of art and use those words to create a short story or poem about the piece. Another strategy in teaching creative writing that I used is through personal narratives. I asked the class to recall the story that they felt a connection to and why. Ask them to create a list of similes, metaphors, personifications, in other words, figures of speech that apply to their lives. For example, hungry as a wolf, or angry as a bull, then craft a short story. What methods do you use to grade or evaluate your students' progress? Well, I normally use formative and summative assessments. In language and communication art class, I use rubrics to assess their individual outputs and group performance. I also use self-assessment and peer assessment too. I also give them feedback after the student's performance to improve the learning the next time they present their output or their performance. If you use technology in your teaching, describe how you use it. Specifically, discuss your experience using a smartboard and ways that you incorporate it in your lessons. Unfortunately, we don't have smartboard in a public school where I am currently employed. I only use overhead projector to aid the teaching learning process that makes my discussion interactive and deliver the lesson well. But when I was employed in a private school, I was able to manipulate a smartboard and incorporate it in my lessons. These overhead projector and our smartboard are both very helpful to improve classroom management, increase interactive instructional tools, create more interest and motivation among students, and of course, waking students with smart technology. If you have students who are noisy or non-attentive, share with us two ways you get them to be quiet and concentrate. I would immediately stop talking, stay relaxed and quiet in front of the class, and look non-aggressive way at the student making the noise. This causes the noisy students to become more obvious. In contrast, and other students may ask them to quieten down. Second, during discussion, I could direct a question to the area in which the noisy students are sitting and try to physically moving to the part of the room where the students are and continue to lead the class discussions. This focuses attention on that area of the class. Describe the most difficult problem that you have had to deal with as a teacher and how do you solve this problem? When I was a grade 10 class advisor, I had this one student who did not attend the class regularly, and some of his subject teachers warned me that this student could not get a passing grade to complete his junior high school. As advisor, I did home visitation to this particular student, and one thing I knew is that he was a working student to feed himself and his younger siblings. That would, that would cost him from leaving the class. So what I did, I humbly explained these things to his subject teachers to give him academic considerations and made necessary arrangements too. And secretly, I helped this student emotionally and financially just to complete his junior high school. To cut the story short, I was able to champion my role as class advisor. I was then a very proud advisor, for in my own little way, I was able to fulfill my role as a second parent. Give one example to show that you are a flexible person and that you can make changes to your teaching and methods if that is necessary. In a public school, we don't have speech laboratory to teach English phonemes, vowels, consonants, sound articulations, as well as to have a correct pronunciation. As an alternative, to make my students learn all these things, I use traditional devices. I made use of a recorder and cassette tapes. The tape usually contains text or stories read aloud by native English speakers. There are also listening and speaking exercises to follow up learning competencies. Is there anything you would like to add about your qualifications that they may not be aware of? Well, way back in college, I was a sport varsity in badminton. I passed level 1 international assessment in Chinese Mandarin foreign language. I'm a module writer and content validator of Philippine textbooks for junior and senior high school. And I recently passed the comprehensive academic examination for my doctorate degree. Have you spoken to your family about going to the United States to teach? Is there anything such as a family member that might object to your leaving home? Are you aware that your family members may not join you here until approximately 4 to 6 weeks after your arrival? Yes, I have already spoken this application to teach in US to my family. In fact, they are very supportive in my decision, and besides I am single. I already discussed this matter and they don't have a plan or future plan either to join me in US because of their health and physical conditions. Do you understand and accept that FACES is a 3-year program, and after 3 years you must return to your home country? Do you agree to this? Yes, I fully understand, accept, and agree the FACES program terms and conditions. That's all. Thank you.